Hello everyone and welcome to the channel, or welcome back to the channel. If you don't know, my name is Kine. I'm a League of Legends player, content creator and coach. And in today's video, I'm going to be making here this mid lane guide. Now, this video is not for people with a short attention span. This is about learning, it's about improving, it's a fully educational video, not with crazy edits, so I'm not gonna put some TikTok videos on here in the meantime, no. You need to have a good attention span, you need to be here and willing to improve. That's what this video is all about. Now, why should you listen to me? Well, you shouldn't, but if you do want to listen to me, here's some info about me, a bit of background. I climbed to Grandmaster 800 LP in solo queue as a mid laner. I was 2 wins away from Challenger, I believe, and I've coached over, I believe at this point like 500, 600 people. So a couple of hundred people I coached, a couple of teams. So I did play solo queue quite a bit. I have some experience under my belt when it comes to coaching, and that is why I think I have some knowledge at least to share with you guys. Now, why this video? I know it's a lot of talking here in the intro, not a lot of movement, short attention span, people are already gone. I know. But why this video? Well, the thing is, I already made a mid lane fundamentals video and I got an extremely amount of positive feedback onto it. People said things like, this video actually made me climb, whereas all the other videos I watched didn't, and just a very general positive feedback on that video. And I thought if that already helped so many people, I have quite a bit more to say. And hence this video. The idea behind this video is to go into a game where I explain everything that pops into my mind. And don't worry, I know these are specific champions, and yes, this is Vladimir versus Veigar, but we're not going to focus on that. There's no, being Vladimir here doesn't mean anything. Playing versus Veigar doesn't mean anything. I'm going to keep this video as general as possible. I'm going to just share what things I focus on and what things I might not focus on. For example, maybe I don't focus on wave mechanics, whereas everybody stresses that so much. And then maybe I focus more on sidelaning where people don't, right? Or something like that. I'm just going to share my thought process with you guys. Now, without further ado, let's finally get started. So, first and foremost, right? So the idea is that I will explain everything that comes into my mind when I look at this game, right? Now, the idea behind that is to show you guys, I know a lot of you watch streamers, and when you watch streamers, you're not only watching them for education, for entertaining purposes, but also for educational purposes. But streamers are oftentimes very caught up in the game and they have to multitask, and that's not easy. And therefore they can't explain all their thoughts. Whereas I will right now basically explain all my thoughts here in this game. Now, I was the Vladimir in this game. However, it's been a while since I played this game, so I might, I think I forgot basically everything that happened in this game, but that's even better, so I can still explain everything from a new perspective. Now, first and foremost, so in order to cover everything, we have to start at the beginning, right? The beginning is Champ Select. Now, I'm not going to stream Champ Select here because this is a game that already has been played, so I don't have access to the Champ Select, but I do have access to the tab, and I do have access to all the champions that you see here. So when I'm in Champ Select, the first things that I look at is the comp, right? What goes into my mind, of course, the mid lane matchup, right? Personally, I don't really think that much of picking a specific champion that's really good into my team, but that could be something that you want to look into. So that's number one. You might want to look in learning how or what to pick in certain team comps. I'm not really going to explain it in this video because I do think that is really irrelevant. For everybody, 99% of this video who's watching, that's kind of irrelevant. Trying to pick a specific champion for a lobby, that's just not relevant. Even up until Challenger, you have one tricks who can play till rank 10 with their champion and basically only play that. So it's kind of irrelevant here for me to say that you should learn how to pick a specific champion in a comp when it's not really competitive or anything like that. But then other than that, the first thing you're going to look at is, so you pick your champion and then you're going to look at your direct matchup, right? And you're going to look at the team comp in general. So that's the first thing that you want to do. You want to do a quick analysis, right? If you do that for this game, how would that go? It's very simple. I would look at my mid lane matchup and I would say I'm a scaling champion. Veigar is a scaling champion. I don't have to do anything specific here. We both scale, so it's a chill matchup. We just farm and we go a full scaling setup. I don't need Ignite, Ares, Scourge. No, I can just freely scale in this matchup. He's not going to bully me all too much. So I can just go Phase Risk setup with Ghost Flash, so the full scaling setup, right? That's the first thing I would look at. Now, again, if you were to play something like Akali, that would look different. If you were to play an assassin, that would look different. Then you would have to look at your champion identity. For if you play an assassin like Akali, you would say, oh, well, the Veigar is a scaling champion. I am not. Akali doesn't scale that bad, but she is an assassin, right? Or if you play Zed or something. So then you would say, I do get outscaled. So it is not enough to just farm and sit back. So you will either have to look to play aggressively and look to kill your opponent all in them with Ignite, right? Or look to Cheval to waves and look to roam and impact the map and win the game that way. But that's already the first analysis that I would do, looking at your champion identity, looking at the enemy champion identity, and drawing conclusions from that. If it's the wrong conclusion, doesn't matter. At least you're drawing conclusions and then you can learn from it. Second thing I would look at is typically the jungle matchup, and I will keep it very simple, honestly. Like even when I was at my peak, I typically always just looked at what type of jungler is it. Do I have a ganking jungler? Do they have a ganking jungler? Or do they have like a full clear jungler? I think both junglers here like the full clear, but if they have, for example, something very clear like a Shaco likes to gank early. He could do like red buff and raptors at the same time and then just gank mid lane at 215 or do that to the bot lane. Then I would play it differently, right? Like here in the Veigar matchup early on, I can push up if I want to and play a bit aggressive because it's a Diana. I know Diana is not going to gank me level 2, but if it was a Shaco, then he could gank me level 2 and then I would play safer. Then I wouldn't play aggressive and I would just sit back and relax. To take this up a notch, if I were to play versus, I don't know, a matchup that I could easily kill, like a Corki or something, or a Jace, then I could go Ignite even, but if I know that they have a Shaco, I will on purpose not take Ignite and I will just take Ghost Flash and go full scaling. Even though in my matchup, Ignite would be very valuable, right? Just because of the Shaco that could gank early. So looking at the junglers, that's quite important because it will influence how you play the game. If they have an early game jungler, you typically want to play a bit safer. If they have a full clear jungler, you have the option to play a bit more aggressive and even invade them with your jungler if you have an early game jungler, right? So those are things to look into. Now again, if you have like, now let's take a look at our jungler. We have a Viego. What if we had, I'll make this a little bit easier, this example. What if we had an Elise or a Lee Sin or a Nidalee? Champions that like to invade, champions that like to play aggressive early on. Then I could say I'm gonna go Ignite. Because even though this game I can just scale versus the Veigar, if I have this early game jungler like Lee Sin, Nidalee, like even though I'm playing Vladimir, my jungler is still going to benefit a lot from those early skirmishes and I should still try to join them because otherwise my Lee Sin or Elise or Nidalee would not be able to play the game to their full potential. So by just me going Ignite, now we have a lot more power in those 2v2 skirmishes if they were to happen, and that just makes my jungler a lot stronger. So I could also change and adapt my playstyle based on my type of jungler. Now again, you kind of want to play for yourself in solo queue, right? In competitive, you kind of want to think of these things, but in solo queue, it's okay to play more for yourself, especially in the lower ranks. Once you get to like high diamond, diamond 2, diamond 1-ish, around that elo, definitely start thinking about your jungle matchup, start thinking about adapting your playstyle based on enemy junglers, your jungle, and your mid lane matchup, of course. And then last but not least, I'm thinking about the supports. I don't really care about ADC and top lane, but I mainly think about supports in the sense that do they have a roaming support? Do they have something that I have to be careful of? If they have a Yuumi in the enemy team, I can just skip that. I don't need any information about that, right? But if they have, let's say, like a Zilean could roam, right? And a Zilean could be annoying because it's a roaming champion. He could look to roam and annoy me quite a bit. Again, that means that I might have to pay a lot of attention to my minimap and play quite a bit safer this game. So even though I'm in a scaling matchup and they have Diana, who's not gonna, she's typically gonna full clear, right? So she's not gonna gank that often in the early game. I might have to care for a Zilean because Zilean could roam and could be annoying, could throw some bombs on me, right? He likes to roam, impact the map. So that is something that I do want to keep into account. Now, I do have a Nautilus. Nautilus can also roam onto the map, so it's completely fine. It would be a lot worse if they have a Zilean and I have like a Yuumi, right? Because then the Zilean can roam, but the Yuumi can't really roam. And then that would be very, very scary, that game. Then I would really have to pay attention to all of that. Now it's kind of chilling in the support matchup. Both of them can roam, so we're kind of even, right? Now, how does it influence your game plan? Again, it's just good to think about this in champ select. You don't have to completely alter your game plan based on this, right? Supports are quite far away from the mid lane. They're not instantly going to impact your lane. a Shaco gank level 2 would be a lot more important to look at, right? So thinking of like, do they have a Shaco or not is a lot more important than looking at the support matchups. But it's also quite important to think about it, right? All right, that is the first thing that I would look at in champ select. Then, of course, you have the runes. Runes are completely based on your champion identity and your laning. If you play in a game where you're like, okay, like we can easily scale. There are no threats onto me. Like they have a Jinx. They are not aggressive early on. Veigar also likes to scale. Kind of the same for Mundo and Diana. So this game, I don't have to play aggressive. I can just play scaling as well. There are no threats onto me. And I am a good scaling champion. So I can just pick scaling here by going Ghost Slash for team fights and Phase Rush. Again, if I were to play a mage or something, I could also just sit back, relax, and farm and scale, right, like Syndra. If I were to play an assassin like Akali or something, or Zed, it would be completely different again, because now I'm in this situation where they have a great scaling bot lane, is great scaling mid laner, Diana also scales pretty well, and Mundo is a tank, so also scales decently. So then I would say as a Zed, I need to get something done here in the early game because they do have a lot of scaling on the enemy team. So that would be a completely different mindset. Now as a Vladimir, I have luxury of also scaling, but as an assassin, I would have to play more aggressive. Right? That means as the assassin, I would take aggressive runes, I would take aggressive summoner spells, I would have an aggressive playstyle. Right? As a Vladimir here, I opt for safe runes and safe summoner spells because I get to scale for free this game. It works with my champion identity and it works based on the enemy comp. But that's what I'm looking for. And then what else do we look for in champ select? Skin, of course. We need to select the right skin or it's insta GG. Of course, I'm joking. But yeah, that's it for champion select. Now we can look into the actual game and I will go over everything that I see here. The boring part is over. We can finally start the gameplay. So bear with me, guys. All right, so the first thing I'm thinking about here, I will pause again, my bad, but hear me out. The first thing I think about when I start the game is, one, do we invade with the team, right? We didn't, we just 5-pointed. But if my team looks to invade and we're with 5 people, I typically just tend to join. Whether or not we win level 1, individual players make too many individual mistakes in solo queue. Therefore, I think invading is always fine, but you have to do it as 5. You can't just invade with 4 people and when your Urgot is top lane, because then they might stack with 5 people here, and now it's a 5v4 and you lose. So invading is fine as 5 people. And yes, in higher elos, really high elo, you could think about who wins level 1 and stuff like that. But below, like I would say, again, high diamond, low master, people really don't have the mechanics to execute these level 1 fights properly. So invading with 5 people typically results in a win for the team that is invading, right? Otherwise, more advanced to that, you kind of want to think of who wins level 1 if you are a player in higher elos, right? You want to think of, do we have a hook champion that's always very strong level 1, like a Pyke, a Nautilus, a Thresh, or like a Morgana queue, right? Do we have strong level 1 champions? What are strong level 1 champions? Well, champions with low ability cooldowns, like champions who can just deal a lot of damage. Think of ADCs, they are typically always useful, right? Because they have always auto attacks, right? They have always damage. A Veigar can do a Q and then his auto attacks do like 0 damage. So ADCs are always strong, but there is a difference, right? You can have an Ashe that can perma slow the enemy, so they can't really escape. Once you hit them with the Ashe auto attacks, enemies can't really escape, and that's really good for level 1. And Ezreal is also pretty good for level 1, because he has insane DPS with his Q and auto attacks, right? Vladimir is really bad for the 1v1, because I have high cooldowns, right? And my auto attacks do 0 damage, so I'm really bad for the 1v1. So then you can look at, do we have like good CC angles, like a Nautilus hook, or like a Veigar cage, and do we have like champions that are good level 1? And based on that, you can look to invade or not. That's the more advanced answer. But below master, I would probably say just invade if you're 5. If not, don't invade. All right, next point up here is warding. As a mid laner, my rule of the thumb is if I know that I'm going to get pushed in. So no matter what champion you play, if you know that you're going to get pushed in starting from level 1, I just place a ward at 1 minute and 15 seconds at the enemy raptor camp. Right? It's as simple as that. Because my view is, if I get pushed in early on, if I know that I'm going to get pushed in, and I'm going to be stuck under my tower, then I can't really go for a ward because I'm constantly getting pushed in. I can't get away from my tower, right? So I might as well place a ward now if I think that I'm going to be stuck under my tower later. Then at least while being stuck under my tower, I got some vision and some advantage for my team, right? If I'm going to be the one that's pushing in the opponent, that's when I want to keep my ward. because I don't need a ward for like, let's say 3 minutes into the game when I'm at my tower, because I shouldn't be scared that the enemy jungler is going to dive me at like 3 minutes into the game when I'm healthy, right? So I don't need a ward when I'm pushed in. But when I'm the one pushing my opponent in, I'm overextended in the lane. And that means now I am at risk of getting ganked. So when you're the one pushing, or when you know that before the matchup starts, you're going to be the one that pushes, keep your ward. And then I like to place that ward at 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Why is that? Most junglers gank between 2 minutes and 40 seconds, something like that, and 4 minutes. If you place a ward at 2:30, for example, here, it lasts 90 seconds, so it will last until 4 minutes. That means you will have vision here from 2:30 to 4 minutes into the game. Scuttlecrab spawns at 3:30. Most junglers full clear look for a gank before the Scuttlecrab, which is around 3:20. So if you place a ward here from 2:30 to 4 minutes, you will see if they come and gank you at 3:20. And if they take Scuttlecrab first, and they gank you after the Scuttlecrab, so it spawns at 3:30, they kill it at like 3:40, 3:45, whatever, and then gank you, you still have like until 4 minutes that you have vision to see if they're gonna gank you or not. So that should be more than enough. Keep in mind, if you play versus cheesy junglers like a Shaco, he might do something like a 2-minute 15 gank, and placing a ward at 2:30 is going to be too late, right? And you need to be aware of, oh, Shaco could gank me 2:15, so I have to be scared. Or if you play versus Evelyn after level 6, right, getting the console wards is more important than getting the trinkets, things like that. But that's basically it. Now, when it comes to warding as well, so I'm already talking about warding here, but when it comes to that as well, I want to talk about the positioning of your wards as well. So let's say that you play versus, I don't know, like maybe a Kindred or something, or a Kayn, right? If you play versus a Kayn or a Kindred and you place a ward here, right, and you stand on this side of the map, right, because you place a ward here, you feel safe on this side of the map, you hover your ward and you stand here. Okay, now you think, okay, I can play the game. I have a ward here. I shouldn't be scared of anything that comes through here or through here. Yes, but what if it's a Kayn or like a Zac? What if it's a Zac that stands here? You don't see him because your ward is here. You don't have the vision. You only see vision till here. So the Zac is here and then jumps onto you. And now you're dead, right? So you also have to adjust your warding positioning based on the type of enemy jungler. If they have big gap closers like a Zac jump or a Jarvan EQ, or they are super fast like a Hecarim or a Rammus, you benefit a lot from placing deeper wards into the enemy jungle, right? If they are champions like Udyr, who don't really have any dashes over walls or not big gap closers, then it's okay to place a ward more in the river side, right? So again, deeper wards are good against junglers with gap closers. If they don't have that big of gap closers, placing a ward here is more than enough. And then again, a side note, like having high movement speed like a Rammus Q or a Hecarim E, I also see as a gap closer. So I would also place deep wards against those type of champions. All right, but that's been a lot. That's kind of it about warding. Maybe the last thing I want to say about that is if you place a ward, hover it. Play on the side of the map where you ward. If you ward here, then stand here in lane, stand here. Why is that? Well, you have a ward here. If enemy wants to gank you, even though you stand on this side of the map, the ward will spot them out soon enough, and now you can just walk here to safety. And if they come from the other side of the map, you're standing on this side of the lane, it's impossible for them to gank you. So it's a win-win to stand on the side of the map where you place a ward. Right. And then, additionally to that, what is also very ideal is that at 2 minutes 30 then, if you have the prio in the lane, you know that you're going to push, you keep your ward till 2:30, that you place that ward on the side of the map where your jungler is spotting into. So for example, let's say my Viego starts red buff, right? And I push into Veigar. And then I want to place a ward at 2:30. Ideally, I would place it then here on this side of the map. Because if my Viego starts red buff, that means that he's going to be on this side of the map between 2 minutes 30 and 4 minutes. That's exactly when I'm going to place my ward. Then, if I place that ward and I know that I should stand on that side of the map where I warded, then I'm indirectly also hovering my Viego who's on this side of the map at that point in time. And that's really good, because if my Viego then goes for Scuttle at 3:30 and the enemy jungler sees him, I'm already standing on that side of the map because I placed a ward here, and now I can instantly move and get here ASAP to help out my jungler, right? So that's also something that I wanted to mention. Again, lots of talk here about warding, so let's take a look here at the gameplay. All right. Now in this game, I placed the ward at 115, even though I can get the prio into the Veigar. Why? Well, this is a 5v5 game. This is not a solo queue game. This is a 5v5 game. So here, it benefits us as a team to get the early ward tier down for my Viego, right? It's not just, I'm not playing for myself here in solo queue, I'm playing for my team here. All right, and then what goes through my mind in this lane? Why do I start pushing? Do I want to start pushing? How do I decide if I can push or if I should not push? What goes through my mind is always very, very simple, right? You have different kind of matchups in League of Legends. You have the melee versus melee, the range versus range, and the range versus melee, right? Melee versus melee matchups, there's not really a rule for that. There's not really a blueprint or a game plan for a melee versus melee matchup. For example, if you play Yone versus Yasuo, who wins? It's not like one of those champions has inherently a super good advantage, like one is like super long range and the other is not. No, they're both melee, so it completely depends on the matchup understanding, right? Does the Yone win or does the Yasuo win? Well, Yasuo is a lot stronger in the early levels, whereas Yone does scale a bit better towards the team fights as well. So then, knowing that Yasuo should have an advantage into the Yone lane early on, keeping that in mind, right? That is matchup understanding. That's not what I'm talking about right now. Now I'm talking about the types of matchups, right? Like melee versus melee, but that's matchup understanding based, not a lot of game plan there. Now we're looking at range versus range. I'm a range champion, Veigar is a range champion. What does that mean? If you play a range versus range matchup in the mid lane, typically all you need to do is push. Why is that? If I push towards the Veigar, I will hit level 2 first. I will hit level 3 first. I will hit level 4 first. So that gives me a level advantage. That's 1. 2, if I'm pushing into my opponent, my wave is bigger, giving me extra trading advantage. If we fight, he will tank more minion aggro than I will from his wave because my wave will be bigger, so he will take more damage, right? So that's also trading power. And 3, he just has to make a choice. If I push into Veigar, at some point the wave will be here and Veigar will have to make a choice. Does he let me push in the wave under his tower? Or does he stop me from doing that by using his abilities on the wave? If he uses his abilities on the wave to make sure I can't push in the wave under his tower, now he doesn't have abilities and I have abilities and I can use that to trade with him. And he used them on the wave, so now he can't trade back. That is the loss-loss situation for the Veigar. No matter what he does, he's going to get a disadvantage, right? That's the situation that I want to put him in. If the wave is here, there isn't really a disadvantage for Veigar. We're both in a chilling wave state. Whereas if I'm pushing, he always has to make sure, while Vladimir is having prio, he can just push this in and move. Or he can push this in and deny me minions because the turret will deny me minions and then I can't farm all of them because of the turret shots, right? That's how Veigar should think. Now, of course, Vladimir should think if I'm always pushing, then I am in an overextended position and I can get ganked. So always pushing is also not the good play, right? But in the beginning of the lane here, in a range versus range matchup, if you play Victor versus Orianna or whatever, you should always try to push, right? It's as simple as that because it gives you too many advantages. Now, if you are, so again, I'm going to talk about everything that comes into my mind here. As a coach, as a player, if you are in a melee versus range matchup, it is completely different. Like, let's say you play right now as, let's say the Veigar is a Yone player. Veigar is Yone. So he's a melee champion, I'm a range champion. That means every time that Yone walks up to auto-attacks my minion to get level 2 and to farm, I can just auto-attack him, I can Q him, and he cannot trade back to me because I have ranged abilities and the Yone does not. Right? Therefore, if Yone keeps on walking up to hit my minions and I keep on punishing him for that, ultimately he's going to die. Or he's going to be so low that he needs to recall or back off. That's why the Yone should not walk up constantly. If they do, you just heavy trade onto them. But a good Yone player will not walk up to the wave into a Vladimir. He will know that if he keeps on walking up, I will just damage him for free. So he will play it safe and try to soak XP and try to get the gold if it's possible without losing too much HP, right? Therefore, as the Vladimir, that means that I'm automatically going to be pushing into the Yone, into the melee player. Why? Again, he cannot walk up to last hit minions because otherwise I will damage him, right? But I can, of course, last hit his minions. So he's not going to last hit all my minions, but I'm going to last hit all his minions. Therefore, I'm instantly pushing into the Yone, even if I'm just last hitting minions. So what is my goal then? Do I want to fast push or last hit? No, I just want to last hit. As the Vladimir into that melee player, into that Yone, I would like to poke him and slow push, just last hit minions. And while I'm last hitting, while we're getting the wave to the tower as slow as possible, I try to maximize this time to be aggressive and poke the Yone and get him as low as possible. So that by the time I get to his tower, I can maybe dive him or let the wave push back towards me and then freeze it here. And then if I was successful while pushing the wave here to his tower, if I was successful in poking him a lot when he walked up, and he was like half HP or something, then when the wave is pushing back towards me and I freeze it, now Yone is only half HP and he can't really walk up to unfreeze the wave. That means he would need a jungler to help him, or he would either die if he tries to do it and I could just kill him, or he would have to recall and lose minions. Right? But either way, he's going to be in a bad position. That's why the Yone should play it very safe while the range champion is pushing into him, right? So that he's full HP or close to it, so that the range champion cannot freeze the Yone. Because if the Yone is full HP, he can trade his HP to push in the wave. He can just use his Qs and auto attacks on the wave, ignore the range player's damage, and then just push it in and recall. And then his wave state is completely okay. So that is how you play as a melee into a range, or as a range into a melee, right? Both scenarios. So the Yone into the Vladimir, or the Fizz into the Victor, or the Katarina into the Orianna, right? No matter what range versus melee champion you take, that is how you should play it. The range champion should slow push into poking the enemy, letting the wave bounce back and freeze. The melee champion should stay as healthy as possible when the wave is pushing towards them, so that they can push in the wave here and make sure that they're not getting frozen on. And once that first recall happens, once they do not get frozen upon here and are able to push out the wave, the hardest part for the melee champion is over. Because then they get to play the game. Now they get their like level 3, level 4, they're getting close to level 6, which is the strength of those melee type champions, right? They get their dashes, their strong burst damage, they get their first recall, like their serrated dirk or something like that, like big damage, right? So that's how you play the melee into the range and the range into the melee. And then for range versus range, we already discussed it. Very simple. We just look to push. In range versus range matchups, it's typically the person who pushes the most who has the better lane. Right. All right. That is what comes into my mind here. Okay, so I am looking to push here. You can see that. If the camera would stay on me, that would be nice. But you can see here that I'm looking to push the wave. I'm looking to hopefully play aggressive here into the Veigar. You see how aggressively I'm posturing into him, right? I'm walking up all the way here just to see if I can do something. All right. Again, I'm trying to push, try to play aggressive, try to get some Qs off onto the Veigar. He's playing safe, he's doing a good job, so it's very hard for me to punish him. But again, you can see me push. Now it becomes a bit more difficult, right? Because now we start getting to that 3-minute time into the game, and now I would think in the game, oh, Diana could gank me. Like, she's almost done with her full clear here, right? She's gonna do the Gromp, the blue. We have the ward, but even if we didn't have the ward, I would know that she's either gonna be here or here, and she would be, in both scenarios, close to finishing her full clear. So now I have to think, I should be careful. I should be careful of getting ganked anytime soon. That's why now I perhaps shouldn't push, even though this is a range versus range matchup, and I said that pushing is typically good, and if you can, you should. Not always. For example, when you know that the enemy team has a gank timer, that they could gank mid lane, that's perhaps when you want to chill a bit, and when you don't want to push. Now, in this case, knowing that Diana is top, I could push. Because I know where she is. If I didn't know where she was, yeah, I can't really hover aside of the lane because I don't have a ward. I placed it already at 115 for my jungler. That's why keeping that ward till 230 is really good when you're the one pushing. Now I don't have it anymore because I placed it here early on to help my jungler. Right? But keep that in mind. But now I know where Diana is because of this beautiful ward. So now I could just stand here on this side of the map. Right? Because I know she's there. I don't need a ward. I know she's there right now. So I can just stand here. So I can push and play on this side of the map. If Diana comes, I walk away like this or like this. So this ward allows me to still push. Now, Diana, she could just Q onto the wave, E onto the wave, E onto me. She has a very big gap closer. So I would still be a bit scary by pushing, even though if I stand here. So I could also just back off. It depends on how confident I feel. But okay. So here you can see it. Look, I'm letting the Veigar push a little bit more into me. Because I'm a bit more scared right now. And I'm also positioning more towards this side of the lane. I'm letting him push into me because I'm scared of Diana, right? Diana is going to look to be here in this river. If I right now stand here and play super aggressive, I am going to get ganked. Right? So therefore, I have to play a bit back. Now, again, whether I play Vladimir here, or Akali, or a Xerath, or a Syndra, it really does not matter. The macro is the same. This video has nothing to do with champion-specific things. It's all about the general macro and ideas in these games. So the champions that are being played in this game have not really any influence on the game. Other than, yeah, the champion identity influencing how one should play. But okay. We're trimming the wave here. I have my Viego close to me. I feel more confident now. So we can transition a bit more into playing aggressively if we want to here. But notice I will not stand here. I will still stand here because Diana, she could have recalled like she did. She could have recalled and just start clearing here again, right? So in a moment from now, I will have to play safe and will start being on this side of the map. But right now, I'm not sure if she did that. I don't know in game if she recalled and went here. She could have maybe looked to invade this. And then she's still on the map and look to gank me. I don't know. Right. So that's why I'm still playing a bit safe, because I know Diana could not be here yet. Alright. You can see me playing aggressive. I'm playing a bit more on this side of the lane now. You can see it how I'm posturing. I'm not posturing here anymore. I'm posturing on this side of the map right now, because Diana could be right now here on the Raptor camp. She's looking to be here right now. Right. So that's the how you make sure that you don't die. Okay. Now I transition again to this side of the map. Why is that Viego? My jungler is doing the Drake. If my jungler is on this side of the map proactively making a play, as a mid laner, you should try to hover that side of the map, right? So you should stand close to this side of the map. Because what if Diana passes by this ward now? Or she goes through here and she looks to fight my Viego. Who do you think gets there first? Veigar, who's standing here, or the Vladimir who's standing here? I get there first. By me just positioning close to this objective, I get there first. So that is also, again, something that I would really think of in game and why I position more on this side of the map. Now, should I move? Should I not move? I should move if my jungler needs help. If not, I will not move. I'm a Vladimir. I want to scale. I don't really gain anything from moving here. So unless it's necessary, I am just going to stay mid lane and farm. Now it's a bit more difficult. Diana is moving. We're still on Drake. So now it becomes a bit more dangerous. Do I go there? Do I not go there? My Nautilus is here. I feel confident and I move. Right? Okay, there goes a play here. And now whether I'm an Akali, whether I'm a Syndra, whether I'm a Vladimir, I should always be on this play. Right. It doesn't matter what champion I am, I should always be on this play. Now we pick up the kill here, we move with the team. And we go back mid lane. We're sitting on lots of gold right now, 1.7k gold because we haven't recalled yet. So what do you guys think I'm thinking about? Right, it's very simple. Now in my mind, in this game, I'm thinking of I need to recall. That's a very important mid lane fundamental and just League of Legends fundamental. Knowing when you can stay in the map, on the map, and knowing when to recall, because that will determine your goal in this game. If I right now want to recall, that in itself means that I need to shove this wave as quickly as possible and go take my recall. If I'm right now strong and I already spent my gold, that in itself would mean that I could look to kill the Veigar. Right? So that's the difference. I could either look to kill the Veigar or I could stay on the map. Right? So that's really, really important. That in itself decides it's the goal of this game. Right? Now this Veigar has no mana, this Veigar has nothing, so I can also keep him a little bit busy in lane here. I want to cancel his recall because he has no mana, right? But you'll see, I push in the wave, right? And I get to recall. And now the wave is pushing back towards me, so I'm not missing a lot of minions while I come back. Look, there we go. And the wave is in a good position, close to my side of the lane. And I just spent my items, right? That is what you want to do, right? Before you recall, you want to shove out the wave. That is how League works. That's how you lose the least amount of minions, right? Now, when it comes to itemization, so right now, right, you recall, you spend some gold. How in the game, or what do you need to know about itemization early on? I would say if you are a mage, so here I didn't do it, which is a very big mistake. But as a mage, and I have my reason for it though, but as a mage, you want to build a Dark Seal. So if you're playing an AP champion, whether it's Akali, whether it's Syndra, whether it's Vladimir, you want to build a Dark Seal early on because it's a super gold efficient item. Right? It's just extremely gold efficient. You don't have to upgrade it into a Magi's, but you do want to build a Dark Seal. It's super gold efficient. Now, of course, if you are a Veigar, you're a mage, and you're planning on building here your Catalyst, and you have enough gold for Catalyst, but yeah, if you build the Dark Seal, now you don't have enough gold. I would say build the Catalyst, right? And then go for the Dark Seal on the next recall. If you have Lost Chapter, so you can build Lost Chapter, but if you build the Dark Seal, now you can't buy it anymore. Build the Lost Chapter and buy the Dark Seal on the next recall, right? It's the same with this. If you can build the Hextech Alternator, build this first, and then go with Dark Seal on the next recall. Now, in this case, it's not an excuse because I had enough gold to build a Dark Seal here. I should have not built the Amplifying Tome, and I should have bought a Dark Seal instead. I don't know why I didn't. Normally I do, but I didn't. So it's a mistake in this game, and I should have bought a Dark Seal. That's for mages, right? In general, other things for builds, typically mages, they just build the mana items, they build into the Lost Chapter, right? The assassins build into something like Serrated Dirk, right? So not much to say there. Now, if you are in a matchup here, where I would say if you are in a matchup where you want to roam, like you really can't kill your lane opponent, and you're playing like an assassin, right? You're playing Zed, you're playing Kiana, you're playing Fizz, you're playing Katarina, right? These skirmish assassin type champions, and you really can't kill the Veigar for some reason. Maybe he's playing way too safe, right? Then on your first base, you could opt to build full boots and perma roam. You shove in the wave and you look to roam, right? Champions like Akali and Zed, they don't need any like big early game power spikes because they have super high base damage. And Akali can literally, with a Doran's Ring, almost 100 to 0 a mage. So she can get away with just building sorcery shoes, going to lane, pushing waves, and then roaming and being able to assassinate the enemy bot lane. So keep that in mind. If you are playing versus a champion that you can't kill, and you are playing an assassin on a timer who needs to get something done, building boots could be really valuable. If you are in a lane where you can kill your lane opponent, then maybe you shouldn't build the boots, and you could build a little bit more aggressive towards damage. If you are a champion that is playing into another champion with skill shots, like for example, I am playing, let's say Vladimir, it doesn't matter which champion I am, but let's say I'm playing Vladimir into Cassiopeia. Cassiopeia, I think we all know, if she hits the Q onto you, you're kind of screwed, right? If she misses the Q, you're chilling. So getting hit by the Q makes like an insane amount of difference. So therefore, how do you dodge a Q? With mobility, with movement speed. So on your first base, you would get more value from building like Boots of Speed and a Dark Seal over an Alternator, for example, because the Boots of Speed will help you with not getting hit by that Q, which is such a make it or break it factor in that lane. Again, if you play versus Orianna or something with like, again, skill shots, that QW constantly, having that extra piece of mobility will help you out a lot in the laning phase. Even though it's not raw damage or not a purely defensive item, it does help you in staying alive. So those are the kind of things that I look for when I'm on my first recall, no matter what type of champion I am. Those are the things that go through my mind. All right, now we come back. What goes through my mind? Now, I don't always do this. I am not the best player when it comes to warding. I have the knowledge, but I'm super lazy about it in-game. Specifically when I play in 5v5 environment, because I'm not too used to that yet. I'm mainly used to playing solo queue. And in solo queue, warding, I do it more often. In 5v5 environment, whereas their warding is more important, I'm sometimes a bit stressed and then I just forget about the warding. But yeah, so here, what I should do, why am I talking about warding again? When you come back to a wave in League of Legends, the best thing you should do is you should use a turn for a ward. What does that mean? In League of Legends, I think most of you have already heard it, there are turns. You get to do something, and then you have to go back mid lane. And then you get to do something, you have to go back mid lane, right? Because of the minion waves. So you can push a wave, and now when your opponent is stuck, now you get to do something. When the wave is back in lane, that's when you need to be back. And now you have to push the wave first before you get to do something. That is one turn. Pushing a wave, moving and going back. That is one turn. In League, you always need to use, as a mid laner at least, one turn for vision. And I always use it as my first turn. That means I just recalled. I come back to lane. I should first and foremost look to push in this wave. Then like go here topside, for example, and place a ward because the grubs are spawning. And then go back mid lane. And now I can look to push a wave and dive, or look to push a wave and roam. But placing that ward is super important. Why? If I come back to lane and I place the ward, only now do I know if I'm going to get ganked. And if I don't see Diana, I know I can play aggressive. If I do see her, I know I need to play safe. That vision shows me what I can do. Having a ward allows me to play certain ways. If I don't have that ward, I don't know how to play. I don't know if I can play aggressive. I don't know if I should play defensive because I don't know anything. Having that ward is really, really important. That is why you should come back in lane, push out the wave, then place a ward, and now you can play the laning phase normally again. Now, I don't think I'm going to do it in this game. I'm sometimes a bit lazy about it, but that's how it works. That is what goes through my mind. Now, at this point, again, what goes through my mind, this is something I like to call the 8-minute concept, or the minute 8 concept. I'm a big fan of impacting the game, whether I play a scaling champion like Veigar, Vladimir, or if I'm playing an early game champion like Kiana, Akali, Fizz. It doesn't really matter. Or when you play control maze like Orianna, Syndra. Minute 8 concept says that you should look to impact the game around that time. So before minute 8, around like up until like level 6, level 7, you can freeze the lane, you can play super lane focused and selfish. Past minute 8, you should now have a lead. And you should use that lead to impact the map. How do you impact the map? By placing vision, by taking objectives with your team, by invading the enemy jungler, by diving the top laner or the bot laner, right? That is what I mean. There are more things to do right now than just freezing and playing for the lane. Of course, there are still plates up until minute 14. So if you can just, maybe you can't kill a lane opponent, or maybe you can, but they're like worth 0 gold. If you can take plates afterwards, it's still fine to play for lane, because this is still a lot of guaranteed gold. Right? But again, it depends. Are you a good champion that is good at taking those turrets? Do you have the grubs? So if you have grubs, you can take plates quicker. So the difference between knowing if you should roam or taking a plate also depends on do you have the grubs or not. Right? If you have grubbies, now you can take this a lot quicker. So then now it is more guaranteed gold to just go for the tower than for a roam because you take it quicker. Even as a Vladimir, because you have the grubbies, right? If you're Tristana, you take turrets really quickly. Then going for turret plates is probably more valuable than going for roams. It depends on the situation, but more often than not, you should probably go for turret plates. Right? If you are a Akali or a Zed, right? I'm not going to say that you take turret plates slowly, like an Akali doesn't take it that slowly, but also not that quickly. And she is great for roaming. So then you can just roam. Right? So based on your champion identity, you also kind of know what to do. Right? But in general, you do want to focus more on not freezing and at least getting plates, looking to kill your lane opponent or roaming. Whether you play scaling champion or not. That is my take on the game. That is my view on the game. Alright, so here you will see I will just perma push. If I can push, I will push. Right? Again, minute 8 concept. If I push, I can hit the tower. I can maybe dive the Veigar, and at the very least, I'm in a position to move. If I now would have to move, I could move. Right? That is the idea behind it. I'm not focused on the lane right now, I'm focused on getting something. You will see I'm hitting plates. Right? I don't need to move here, I can just hit the plates. And maybe something else here. Again, I promised you guys that I would show you everything that I know, or that I would talk about everything that comes up into my mind when looking at this game, to show you all the mid lane fundamentals and to show you all the mid lane knowledge that you could possibly know. If you play runes that stack off objectives, you could join those objectives and get free rune stats. So for example, Legend Haste. For the people that don't know, I will quickly explain. This is a rune that will give me ability haste. So I will gain 1.5 basic ability haste for every legend stack. Now, what does that mean? What is a legend stack? How do I get that? So how do I get that ability haste? I need to take down an epic monster, a large monster, or a minion kill. Right? So, for example, the grubbies count as one of those. So if I go to the grubs and I kill this grub, or like I assist on it, right? I attack it, and then I attack this grub, and then I attack this grub. So it is a takedown, right? A takedown means an assist or a kill. So if I just help my Vego take these things, I will get 3 stacks, and per stack, I get 1.5 ability haste. At this moment in the game, I have 6. If I help my Vego here, I get 1.5, 3, and then in total 4.5. So I will get 4.5. So rather than 6 ability haste, in total, I will have 10.5 ability haste. So those are also things that could be useful to know. Sometimes people don't go to the grubs, even like because their teammates don't need help. You could go there and get the stacks. Again, it depends on the situation, right? If I go here to this fight, Veigar can push the wave and now he gets to do what he wants, right? So normally I will only do that and look for those stacks for my runes when I'm not giving anything to my lane opponent. Now I'm going to give him tempo. If I move now, I'm going to give him tempo. If my wave was dead right now, then I would move. Because then Veigar is stuck in lane farming my wave and I get to take this for free and there is nothing else to do. Right now, I still need to farm this wave. That is why I'm not moving there. Okay. We get ganked. Now, something else that I want to talk about in lane that I didn't really mention because the thing is, this was a bit of a boring lane, right? Scaling. There's not too much like really in-depth going on here. It's just a scaling versus scaling boring matchup. Like we farm, sometimes we queue the opponent, but that's kind of it, right? Not too much thinking in this lane. Now, what I do normally think of, so when you play something like a Kali or when you play something that's more heavy in terms of trading, so you're going to do more trading in the lane, there are 3 things that you need to know. I call them the 3 trading fundamentals, right? Number 1 is you want to hit your opponent. So we're now at about 9 minutes into the game. I will quickly go back here. I will instantly come back to the 9 minutes, but just to explain this, let me show you. So there are 3 trading fundamentals in lane, right? At least in my opinion. So 1, when a minion is low on your wave, that is when you know that the enemy will walk up to try and last hit that minion to get the gold, right? So when the minion is low, you know that your enemy will have the intention of walking up. That in itself gives you an opportunity to trade. Because if you know that they're going to walk up and you're a champion with skill shots like a Syndra QE, now I can just hit the Veigar for free with my QE if he wants to walk up to last hit this minion if it were to be low, right? This is a hypothetical situation. So if this minion was low, I knew he would want to walk up and then I can just QE him if I'm a Syndra or something. Or like Orianna, I can just Q ult him or QW, right? So that is 1. You can trade based on your minion HP. So if your minions are low, the opponents are going to want to walk up, and then you can just walk up to punish them for it, right? And if they hit you, so you walk up to zone them from this minion, for example, when it's low, and they hit you, well, now they miss the minion. They hit you, but they miss the minion. And you can also hit them back, but they miss the minion. So it's still a win-win situation for you. You traded back with your opponent, right? So it's kind of even in trade, and he lost the minion. So you won. What if he goes for the minion? Well, if he goes for the minion and he uses his Q on the minion, now he can't do his Q onto me anymore, and now I can trade with him for free and I win the trade. He got the minion, but I won the trade. And if he walks away because he's scared of my damage, then he also misses the minion. So no matter what I do, if I pressure my opponent when my minions are low, it's a win-win situation. That's why I call this a fundamental. It's super, super important. So a trading fundamental, playing around minion HP. Number 2 is level power spikes. It's super, super simple. Again, like if you're about to hit level 2 quicker than your opponent, for example, you can play a bit more aggressive, right? So as Vladimir right now is not the best example because Vladimir, whether you're level 1 or level 2, you are not that strong. But like here, I'm going to get level 2. Like I can't really pressure Veigar. I don't really have anything to pressure him. Like walking up here doesn't really do a lot for me, right? But if I was like, I don't know, an Akali or something, now from going with 1 Q to now having Q and W available, that's a very big difference, right? So you want to play around level power spikes. You want to get level 2 quicker. You want to get level 3 quicker. And you want to get level 6 quicker than your opponent. And you want to be aware of the fact that if you are in a losing matchup, or for some reason, like maybe you got ganked and you're low HP, and your Veigar is now going to hit level 6 for you, you need to be aware of that. So that's the second trading fundamental, being aware of level power spikes, right? Play around those level power spikes and be aggressive. When you hit level 2, walk up. When you hit level 3, walk up. When you hit level 6, be aggressive, right? Again, as Vladimir in this lane, it doesn't really matter. Yes, I could walk up and theoretically maybe zone him from one minion, right? So I could have played this better, but again, as Vladimir, it doesn't really matter. I'm not that strong level 2 anyway. Yeah, on most champions, it is very, very important, right? So that's quite important. And then something else I wanted to say as well about this second trading fundamental, the level power spikes, is on most champions, you want to prepare your level 6. Specifically when you play assassins, I would say. On mages, it's perhaps not that important, but on assassins, it's kind of important. And what do I mean with preparing your level 6? It means that ideally, when you're level 5, you push out your wave to the enemy tower, you go for a recall, you spend all your gold so that you're at your strongest, you come back to lane, and because you pushed out the wave before you recalled, it will now be on your side of the lane here. And imagine now that you're in Akali, and Veigar is still in lane here, you just spent all your gold, so you're really strong, you have all your items, the wave is on your side of the lane, and now you hit level 6 while farming here. Now you have the entire lane to run the Veigar down, and it should be a free kill because you just spent all your gold. That's what I mean with preparing your level 6 power spike. That's a very big fundamental when it comes to trading that people forget. And again, it's not, it depends what type of champion you are, right? If you're Xerath, it's potentially not that crazy. But if you're an Akali, it makes a very big difference, right? Or if you're a Yone, it makes a very big difference because yeah, those champions really thrive from all-inning their opponents and having a very long lane to run them down. It's the same for an Irelia player. Having people close to your tower when you have ultimate as Akali, Irelia, you have so much space to run them down. So preparing that level 6 is very important when you play a champion who runs down opponents, right? Like again, like the Oswald, like the Irelia, like the Yone, like a Tryndamere in top lane or something, right? Like those type of champions. And that is something that I also wanted to mention. That was the second trading fundamental, playing around those level power spikes. And then number 3 is obviously playing around ability cooldowns, right? If Veigar is trying to fight me and I, at any point in time, I waste my W, whether it's accidentally or I screw it up or I use it good, but now it's on like a 24-second cooldown. Now Veigar has 24 seconds to trade aggressively with me because I don't have a defensive spell. Right? So playing around ability cooldowns is super, super important. If Veigar uses his Q on a minion here, on this cannon, for example, now I get to play the game. Now I get to walk up and play with the Veigar, and now I get to trade with him. That is playing around ability cooldowns. And now, again, this is all very theoretical, right? Playing around the minion HP, playing around the ability cooldowns, playing around the level power spikes. But in the game, this all flows together without even thinking about it, right? Like when a minion is low here, when this minion is low, Veigar wants to take this kind of minion. So I should walk up. And it would be even better if while walking up here, I level up or something, right? That would be even better. Or while I walk up, Veigar misses his Q or does his Q here, right? All these fundamentals, they flow together. And it's ideal if all of them align. That typically results in a kill. So, for example, when you're here, Akali, the wave is close to your tower, right? And Veigar walks up. While you're farming, you hit level 6, so you have your level 6 power spikes. Your minion is low, so Veigar walked up because he wanted to farm your minions, so that's trading fundamental 1. Minion HP is low. He walked up, therefore, to get that minion. That's why you walked up, because you knew he would walk up for your minion. So the first trading fundamental, you did correctly. While you do that, you hit level 6, and you knew that you hit level 6 because you paid attention to that. So that's trading fundamental 2. And let's say Veigar missed his Q or something, or he doesn't have it, or he doesn't have his cage right now, because he wasted it 5 seconds ago. Now all the 3 trading fundamentals are on point. He doesn't have his E, so playing around ability cooldowns. You hit level 6 when he's still level 5, playing around level power spikes. And you walked up when he was walking up for your minion, right? So playing around minion HP. If those 3 things are aligned, you typically just get a kill, right? But if you have 2 out of 3, it's also fine. If you have 1 out of 3, it's also fine. But if you have 3 out of 3, you typically get a kill. That's how I view the game. That's how I view trading. And I quickly wanted to talk about that, because I do know that in this lane, there wasn't too much trading going on, because it is a bit of a boring lane. But all right, let's go back to, I believe, 850. And again, this is probably going to be a very long video, but it is all about showing you guys what I think and what goes through my mind. And not just in this game for Vladimir Veigar, but talking about all the different possible playstyles, champion identities, matchups, right? Now again, at this point it becomes a bit easier, this explanation, because I'm still thinking the same right now. I'm still thinking about the minute 8 concept. Just pushing. If Veigar ever makes a big mistake, like wasting his E or he walks up too far, I look to kill him, right? But I mainly want to push to take his plates, or to push and to dive him, or to push and to roam. But it all starts from pushing. Pushing gets me in a good position right now, right? I don't want to be freezing on here, because then I'm just farming. If you freeze, all that you're doing is farming, right? Like, let's even say Veigar, like, let's make a hypothetical situation. You are freezing the Veigar from minute 1. Level 1, you start a freeze. And you keep it until, like, minute 20. And let's say you have, like, perfect CS. You have, like, 220 CS, and Veigar didn't get a single minion. So at 20 minutes of the game, you have been freezing the Veigar. He has 0 farm, and you have, like, perfect CS, 220 farm. It still does not matter that much, because the only thing that happened is you got stronger, a lot stronger, compared to the Veigar. But you're still only a Vladimir 000 with just perfect CS. This Jinx could also have perfect CS, but double killed your bot lane like 3 times. So she's going to be ridiculously strong, and she's going to be a lot stronger than you. So while you were busy getting stronger than the Veigar, you didn't think of getting stronger than the Jinx. And that's why I say the minute 8 concept is so important. You need to do at some point, like in the early game, denying your opponent's CS is good, because then you become stronger than your opponent. But once you become stronger than your opponent, you should start to actively make that strength into a lead and into a bigger lead. So freezing gives you perhaps like an item advantage. With that item advantage now, you have to play aggressive. You have to kill him or take a plate or do a roam. And that gives you a bigger lead. And with that bigger lead, again, you're going to have to play aggressive and turn that into an even bigger lead. And so on and so forth. That's why it's okay to play for lane pre-level 8, starting from pre-minute 8, starting from around minute 8, being a bit more proactive. That's what I like to do. Whether I'm playing Vladimir or an Akali. Very different champions, yet I would play the same on a scaling champion. Alright, so again, if I can push, I will push. I'm just healing from the Raptor camp here, that's a Vlad mechanic. Okay, and we're looking to recall. Why? 1, we're sitting on lots of gold, 1.1k gold, right? And 2, it's a cannon minion wave. So, I hate, no matter what champion I play, I hate being on the map with lots of gold. Because this means that right now I'm not snowballing. Remember, I just talked about the minute 8 concept, and you have to play aggressive once you get to that kind of time into the game. But how can I play aggressive when I'm sitting on 1.1k gold? Right? If I spend my gold, now I'm strong and now I can play aggressive. If I don't spend my gold in time, I am not playing as aggressive as I could. Because a full item Vladimir is stronger than a collector, an alternator Vladimir. Right? That's just a fact. So it's just better to recall when you have, like, I always say to people, a general rule is recalling when you have more than 1,000 gold. That's not always the case, right? Like, if you can finish your full item with like 1.3k gold and you're already sitting on 1k gold, just wait 300 more gold, right? But if, generally speaking, I always say people just recall if you have 1,000 plus gold. And then how do you organize that recall no matter what champion you play? Well, ideally you just do it on a cannon minion wave, right? So look, I recall instantly on this cannon minion wave, and Veigar is a good champion at pushing. He pushes really, really quickly. But look, I'm still not going to miss that much. I missed 1 minion so far, and I'm already back, and I get the cannon minion. So I missed 1 minion here, right? Which I think is pretty good here. That's just because of recalling on a cannon minion wave. This here, you might think, what the hell is that flash? It's a fat finger. I just misclicked. I have a new keyboard. It's a keyboard that's super fast. It's a SteelSeries keyboard with like optical laser or something. And you can choose the actuation point, like how quickly it presses the keys, and it's super quickly, super sensitive, my keys. I'm not used to it, and that is why I just entered the game. That's why I randomly flash. But yeah, it is what it is. All right. Again, we push, and we see what we can do. Right? And here you see autopiloting. You see my autopiloting. So I know that I should push, right? Because why? Again, we push, we get to do something on the map. Right? Now, I push this and I walk bot lane. But I shouldn't walk bot lane here. Why? My jungler is spotting top lane. That means that if I go bot lane and I try to 3v2 the enemies, what if Diana shows up? Now it's a 3v3, and that's not as guaranteed as a 3v2. And even Veigar could follow, and then it's a 4v3 for the enemy team. So ideally, in order to make sure that we're not getting outnumbered, right, bot lane, I should always try to gank with my jungler. And that is different. If you are a Vladimir, you're not that good at ganking, right? You're not that good. I don't have any mobility. I don't have any dashes, right? And I don't have any CC or something. So I only offer damage when I roam. And I have very little mobility. So I'm just not that not that a good champion for roaming. So then if I'm not that good of a champion for roaming, that doesn't mean that I shouldn't roam. It just means that I should be more smart or smarter about my roams than when I'm playing like something like a Fizz or something, right? Like here, what does that mean, playing smarter for roaming? It means playing with your jungler, right? Playing with your, doing a gank with your jungler. That is easier to execute than trying to do it on yourself here in the bot lane, because my champion is not made for that. Now, if I'm playing Annie, for example, let's take Annie, right? Annie, very good for roams. She has a point and click CC, lots of damage, right? I could just go here bot lane. Even if Diana shows up, the chances of us getting one kill is very high, because as Annie, I just blow one person up, right? I'm very good for roaming. So I could get away with not doing a roam with my Viego together if I'm Annie, because I'm just a better champ at roaming. If I'm playing something like a Vladimir, I'm not that good at roaming. And then it's better if I just play with my Viego. That's why here I suddenly remember that, and I walk top lane here, and I realize, oh wait, I should place my wards on this side of the map. I should hover this side of the map because my Viego is here, and I'm not that good at roaming, so I should play with my Viego. Right. That is my mindset. Again, just to show you guys how I'm thinking. Okay, we push this in, and again, we look to do something. I'm taking a plate, I'm looking to attack it. Even if it's just one auto attack, I'm trying to get something done. I'm too low right now to roam. That's why I went for the plate. We try to heal up a little bit. Veigar's playing very aggressive. And then here, let's go to this play. What is my thought process behind that? So let's take a look at this play. So look, I'm about to have my red Q, right? And I have my rocket belt here. Now, am I here playing to kill the Veigar? I'm not. I'm not trying to kill the Veigar at this point. If I kill him, that's great. But I'm not trying to kill him. I'm trying to put some pressure off of myself, right? Veigar is currently having a free lane. He's currently being oppressive, just bullying me, getting free stacks. And I need to have a little bit of relief in this lane, right? I can't just let him free stack for nothing. I need to have a bit more time to farm. I need to zone him, get him out of this lane, right? Just get an advantage. Like, for example, burn his teleport. That's what I'm thinking of right now. Like, he is having too easy of a time in the lane. Let's try and make it harder, right? So I just do a full engage here onto the Veigar, not to kill him. Again, just to like burn his ultimate. Like, I didn't even want to burn his flash. At this point, I just wanted to get him low. And if he's low, I can play the lane. And he's forced to recall and TP back. And then I got his teleport. And forcing Veigar to teleport to lane and making sure he doesn't have it for like a crazy play here on the bot lane, for example, would be useful. So just getting some kind of advantage here. Right. That's why sometimes you just don't have to ult your opponent to kill them. And again, whether you're an assassin or a Syndra, an Orianna could also just Q the Veigar QW and ult him. Just to get him low, or to force his flash, or to make him recall TP. Right? Just to get an advantage. Don't make your laner's life too easy. Right? Relieve yourself of some pressure and get some kind of an advantage. Now, I'm lucky enough to get the Veigar flash here. The laning phase is easier because I got some healing back here. Right? But we got some kind of an advantage. I traded my ult for his flash, which is really good. And then my Viego here is just chasing down a Diana, so I'm just reacting to what I'm seeing, right? And we goes for this. And then we look to kill the Viger as well. Right, I traded a 1-for-1. I knew that Zilean was here, so I just traded the 1-for-1, and I get the double kill. But that was just a bit of shenanigans, just my jungler making a play. I'm just reacting. I don't really have any thoughts at that moment in the game. I'm just reacting to that play, and then killing the Veigar is just champion mechanics, champion limits, knowing that after killing that Diana, I can still go for the Veigar. But there's not too much thinking that goes into that play. It's more like reacting and champion limits.
Turret plating will soon fall.
But okay, we get back into the game. Again, look to do the same. Push and get something. Right? Get plates, move on to the map. The plates are about to be gone, so I will have to look to do something on the map here. Or kill the Veigar, that's also good, right? So yeah, I push and I can't really do anything, you saw? Like, there isn't really, top lane is recalling. This guy is fully speed, like there's not really a play to be made, and I couldn't take his tower because he just has insane wave clear. Those are annoying situations in the game, you want to try to avoid them, but sometimes it just happens. Okay. Again here, this is a lot of time where I'm doing nothing. And I could maybe have gone bot lane here, or have gone to Mundo. I don't think Mundo, because again, Mundo is difficult to kill. We don't know where Diana is. And Viego is bot lane. I want to play with my jungler if I'm not such a good roaming champion. So potentially we could have killed the Jinx here, right? And I don't know if she has a shutdown or not. She doesn't. But yeah, it should be a free kill here. And then I keep laning here, and then my bot lane goes mid lane. Because what's the downside, of course, if I go bot lane here, Veigar gets to push and maybe take my tower. Unless my Tristana reacts and goes mid lane here. In high elo, they will react. In lower elo, they will not react. And then when I go bot lane, they will also go bot lane in low elo. Right. That's why I'm a bit hesitant to do this play, because I don't know if my Tristana is going to move here or not. Right. Now, again, this is 5v5, so I can't communicate this properly, so I should actually have moved and just said to Tristana, you can go mid lane. Right. So there's definitely a missed opportunity, and you should use your tempo. If there's nothing to do, you're playing the game wrong. There's always something to do, like almost always. But okay, the game goes on. Again, we're scaling. Not too much that goes through my mind right now. I'm again just thinking of pushing the wave and getting something done. There are two objectives up. Herald, Drake is about to spawn. What is your job? Whether it's a Syndra, whether it's an Akali, whether it's a Vladimir, no matter what type of champion you are in this game, you have to think of these objectives. And how do you do that? Preparing objectives properly. Making sure that you're not wasting summoner spells before the objectives. Making sure that you spend your gold before the objectives. Making sure that you're early enough in the lane before the objectives, so that you can clear enemy vision and set up vision on your own. Right? That is super important. So those objectives, let them lead you. Let them guide you through the game. That's what you should do. Alright, so here again, we push the wave, the objective is up, so that's why Zilean is here, that's why the entire enemy team is here, that's why my Viego is here. The objective is up, the Herald, and we're looking to play for it. So I push the wave, and I look to play aggressively here and get some kind of a lead, and try to do this Herald. We back off, ultimately the enemy team is posturing super aggressively. They are willing to contest this, and why do I back off? I'm a Vladimir. Again, in solo queue, this is not easy. In solo queue, this probably is a fight. In a 5v5, you can just call it off and say, wait, this is going to be scary, but I'm a Vladimir, I outskilled the entire enemy team, we shouldn't fight this, like we shouldn't risk it. And then we push this in, we go for the Drake, the enemies are going to probably go for the Herald here, and we look to objectively trade. I go bot lane, my Tristana goes mid, in case there is a Herald fight, she can just fight that. And now I go side lane. Again, whether you are a mage, an assassin, whatever you are, right? You should be in the side lane as a mid laner when one of the bot lane towers died. When one of the bot lane towers dies, your bot lane should go mid lane and you should go bot lane. Why is that? To get solo gold and solo XP, right? It's very simple. I'm not going to go into it too in depth, but if a bot lane tower dies, like let's say Jinx, Zilean kill this tower. What is their next goal? Well, to kill the next tower. But this is their safety. Here they are safe. If they have to walk all this way to hit this tower, as a squishy and immobile Jinx and Zilean, they will just die. My Vega will collapse them, I will collapse them, and they will just die over and over again. So taking this turret is just not realistic for them. So they're going to say, okay, after taking this tower, let's move mid lane here. Or maybe even top. But I won't complicate it too much. Let's say they just go mid lane. That happens in the majority of the games, even in higher elos. So then, if they go mid lane, you can't play 1v2. You can't play versus the Jinx and the Zillion. It's just difficult. So then, as a reaction, you go bot lane, and you send your bot lane to react and to play against the enemy bot lane. And this way, you get solo gold and solo XP still. So that is what you should do. Veigar right now, he could be here and overstaying, and he's not getting solo gold and XP. So now they could do Herald, and if I'm not there, my team might lose the Herald. But at least I'm getting solo gold and solo XP. Do I value solo gold and solo XP over the Herald? That depends. That depends on your champion identity. If I'm an Akali, yes, solo gold and XP is very important, but I also know that my champion is designed for those skirmishes and is really good at it. So then as Akali, I could fight this before going to bot lane. I could fight this, recall, spend gold, and go bot. As a Vladimir, right now, I'm not that strong yet. I know that I still have a lot of potential in this game. I scale, right? I'm not that good at those skirmishes at this point, at 60 minutes into the game. We are close to having soul in this game, so I don't want to flip the game now here. I just want to scale. And if my team decides to fight this, even in this 5v5 game and not in solo queue, I would still not go for it. Because again, I do scale, we are close to soul point. Why flip the game now on this if we can just scale and get the soul? Right? I'm playing the scaling champion. But if you're in the enemy team, well, they have to make something work. Right? They have to do something. They can't just give everything away, so they have to make a play. This is more of a desperation play for the enemy team. Right? So keep that in mind. And if you're an Akali, you kind of want to be here. If you're a Zed, you kind of want to be here. But if you're a good split pusher, like a, I don't know, like a Tristana mid lane or something, if you are good at taking towers, you can just also be here. Or if you're a scaling champion like Vladimir or Ryze or Cassio, you can also just be here. Getting that solo gold and XP is good enough. Now the Jinx matches me for some reason, so Jinx chose to be here, Veigar is there, which was a bit of a weird lane assignment. I expected Veigar to be here and Jinx to be in that fight. Why? Well, one, the ADC has no, like, Jinx cannot get there. Whereas Veigar with teleport can just farm bot lane and then still teleport there. Right. So it was a bit of a weird lane assignment, but it is what it is. Now Veigar is finally here. Here, what do? Look, you will see me play very aggressive. And I would do this whether I'm a Syndra or an Orianna or an Akali or a Zed or a LeBlanc or a Vladimir. It does not matter. What I just did, I would always do. So look what I do. I play super aggressive. I look to ult him. Why do I do this? I'm trying to get this tower. That's what I'm doing. Why am I in this side lane? I'm trying to get gold and solo XP. That's number one. But I also want to advance on the map. I don't just want to sit here and handshake the Veigar. So I want to get this tower. Because guys, I don't know if you know it, but this tower is worth 700 gold. That's like an objective on itself. It's like more worth than the Drake. Right? This is super valuable. So I want to get there eventually. I don't care too much about this, but I do want to get here. But therefore, I need to kill this tower. I need to advance on the map. Right? How do you advance? Well, if you just farm and always only go onto the Veigar when you think you can kill him, that's going to take a long time. You need to create your advantages differently and quicker. So if I just ult the Veigar here instantly, right? Look, I might just get a very big advantage. He might just be so low that he needs to recall. And then maybe I can take the tower when he's recalling, or maybe I get his teleport. That is what I'm trying to do. Whether it works or not is irrelevant, right? It's the idea behind it. Again, look here, I'm ghosting. I'm trying to play super aggressive. Right. And again, you could argue, is it worth burning Ghost and Flash for this play? In hindsight, probably not. Dragon, we have Soul coming up. I should have probably played a bit slower. There is no need to take this tower this quickly, because we can just play for the Soul point and end the game that way. Right? So I was a bit too tunnel visioned on progressing here in the side lane and getting something done, right? To get this tower move up. Whereas I should have said, okay, no, whether I'm Akali or it doesn't matter if you're early game or late game champ here, you have a soul coming up that is like a game-winning thing, you should be at your strongest at that soul fight, right? Whether you're an assassin or a mage. And then how do you do that? By keeping your summoner spells, by keeping your flashes, by recalling in time, right? So what I did here was a bit too tunnel visioned, 100% too tunnel visioned. Right. But I killed the Veigar, and I tried to get to the tower. I don't think I can, because now Mundo is bot lane. Yeah. But now the entire idea behind that was, right, kill the Veigar or get his flash or get him low, force him to recall, take the tower. Right. That, we kind of succeeded in killing the Veigar. We didn't get anything here because Mundo took it over from the Veigar, which is a bit annoying. So that's 2. And 3, I probably shouldn't have gone that hard for the tower because Sol is coming up and that's a bigger win condition than taking a tower, of course. Now, why do I walk mid lane here? Again, it has nothing to do with being Vladimir. I would always walk mid lane here. Why is that? Well, let's take a look when I'm in base here. So, yeah, about here. This is where I already decide to go mid lane, right? I started off going bot and now I want to go mid. Why? This wave is already pushed out. There's no reason for me to walk all the way till here because the wave is already pushed out. I only have to be bot lane again when this wave is close to my tower. That's when I can collect the wave, push it out again, and I can go on the map again. Right now, the wave is already pushed out. It's all the way over here. So I have no reason right now to instantly go bot lane. I have some time to do what I want on the map. Now, of course, if I can't go bot and Urgot is top lane, I shouldn't go top lane here, then the only way or the only place for me to be is mid lane. So now I'm just helping out my team. There's nothing really for me to do on the map, so I will just go here, mid lane, and it happens to be that there is a fight around the mid lane. That's why I always go mid lane in these scenarios, because it's close to everywhere on the map, right? Because it's the middle of the map. So going there is almost never wrong in these lull states and these states where there's nothing really to do for me. And then a fight happens and we just see if we can react to it. It's looking a bit grim, but we'll see. Yeah, okay. We react to it. Okay. Okay, and then here it's like me being mid is a bit suboptimal, right? So I overdid it. So I react to this fight and I play super aggressive here. Here I should move. It's not like I have to be top or I have to be bot. I could still be mid lane. Like they're still, like these waves are still pretty far shoved out. But the thing is, right now, the next wave is coming in. And at all times, you kind of want to avoid sharing solo gold or like sharing gold and XP with your teammates, right? So like, I don't want to share gold with my Urgot and I don't want to do it with Tristana, right? So even though there's not really a reason for me to walk to these side lanes yet, right? I kind of just should go there. I can still farm there and take towers, right? But just, I would go there to make sure I'm not sharing that gold and experience, right? Because otherwise I'm screwing all of us 3. So I overstay here. Tristana is better off in the mid lane. So I should have, now that I see it in hindsight again, I should have run to the side lanes and not be here. Tristana should be here, right? Push these waves, wait for Nod, and I should go to the side lane. Where should I go? I should go to the lane closest to the objective. What is the next objective? Well, it's Atakan. Atakan is spawning. Also, Drake is about to spawn, I believe, in like 2 minutes or something. So I should be on the bot side of the map. Right. Now, again, Urgot is also really, really strong. And he also doesn't have teleports right now. So that means if we put him top lane, well, he's also not going to get to that Atakan fight. So if you really want to fight the Atakan, somebody should be mid lane. And yeah, we just have to forsake top lane for a while. Right? It just is what it is. Because we don't have a TP in the team at this moment. Right? Now, I still think Urgot should go top lane here. And just pressure this tower. Because 1, he is a lot better at taking towers than I am. And therefore, I should go bot. And 2, if they do Atakan, all we have to do is stall them if Urgot is taking this tower. Because Urgot is getting 700 gold here. And then maybe he can take the next tower. And then maybe it's even worth giving the Atakan. Or like, we should just stall the enemy team. Right? We should just make sure that they can't take the Atakan. Because Urgot is pushing here for free if he's top lane. Unless Mundo joins the Urgot. But if Mundo joins the Urgot, now it's a 4v4. And now it's fine that Urgot is top lane. Right, so that's what we should keep in mind. That's why I believe in this position, Urgot should go top lane. But again, whether it's solo queue or 5v5, you can't always communicate that to your teammates. So that I believe... Oh no, Urgot does recall. Yeah, he does go bot lane. And it's because I overstay in the mid lane. Yeah, so I overstay in the mid lane. We get to we make a pick, and then we do Atakan here. My team doesn't need all the help on Atakan. We already get it. So then we just go to the Mundo. We try to kill him. And we get the Mundo. Right. So here, let me quickly explain what happened, right? Because this might seem a bit confusing and what goes through my mind in these situations. So again, I just overextended in the mid lane and my Tristana went bot lane. Right. That's what happened basically. So I overextend, my Tristana goes bot lane. I stay here. So ideally I should have gone bot, Tristana goes mid, but okay, it is what it is. Right. The enemy bot lane here feels super confident because they're playing 2v1, right, into me. And then my teammates, they pushed the wave and they moved. They insta moved. They didn't push out the wave fully. They killed the wave and insta moved. And they are not aware of that. So we collapse them, right? We make the play, we kill them, and now we kill the enemy. So now what are we thinking of as a team? Oh wait, Atakan is up, right? This objective is up, and we just took a kill on Zillion, so now we should take that. Right? That is my view right now. We should just go for Atakan. Now I also know my team doesn't really need me, so I can just shove out the way first, then move. And then when I see the Mundo, I know, okay, again, my team doesn't need me. We saw that Diana was on this side of the map, right? So the enemies are clearly not contesting us, so I know I can just defend this tower and make a pick on the Mundo. Tristana has the same idea, she just follows me because Viego doesn't need our help. And then we just go for this pick. And then ultimately, we get the pick. Now what happens? Tristana goes bot. Somebody here, so it's simple. Somebody should go defend mid and somebody should push out bot. And then we take Drake. And ideally we reset because we're probably all sitting on lots of gold because we just got kills. We got a kill in the mid lane, we got a kill in the bot lane, and we got Atakan. So we have lots of gold. So right now our job is to shove out waves, recalls, spend our gold, and move to the fight. Right. So whether it's Tristana that goes mid lane or it's me that goes bot and she that goes mid, it really doesn't matter. At this point I was just closest to mid lane, so I just go there because it's the most efficient, right? The person who's closest should just go there. And Tristana goes bot. Right. And then now my intention is just to take this wave, defend the tower, and ideally reset for Drake. That is the ideal scenario. Now what happens is my teammates go quite deep in here, right? They kind of get caught. So let me go back to that to show you. So why do I not recall? Ideally I should recall here. But my Viego is trying to make a pick. When my Tristana is not there, when my Urgot is not there, and when my Nautilus is not there, and when I'm not there. So he tries to make a pick. And that kind of screws things a little bit here. It's still fine though. Right, we get the pick onto the Jinx ultimately because Viego plays it honestly just pretty well. And that's why I stay. And we're kind of strong, right? The game is 9-20. We just win these fights. And then we just push out this wave. We can take the dragon. Does my team need me on dragon? No, so I will just push. It's very simple. In my opinion, mid laners and top laners should not really hit dragons and Atakan, and they shouldn't really hit those those epic monsters and Baron, because very simple. Mid laners and top laners, their job is to win the Baron fight, it's to win the Dragon fight, it's to win the Atakan fight. It's not to take the objectives, it's to win the fight. Once the fight is won, now your teammates, your jungler and your support and even ADC, now they can focus on taking those objectives. And the mid laner and top laner can now get back to pushing. Right. Now again, it depends. If you are a mid laner like Vladimir who isn't that good at pushing and your team needs your help, you can help with the Drake, and then the better pushing champion like Tristana here could look to push the turrets. Right. Take it with a grain of salt, right? Like the better pushing, even though you're a mid laner, you could be a less good champion at pushing, and then your ADC could perhaps be the one that pushes and you're the one that helps at Dragon. Now in this scenario, it doesn't get contested at all whatsoever, so nobody needs to help. Not even the support, not even the ADC. So we can just play mid lane here. And that is so far everything I'm really thinking about, and I think we're getting close to the end of the game here. That is really everything that I think about in these games. I reset. Why? We're sitting on lots of gold. We're sitting on 2.5k gold. We spend that gold. In terms of itemization, again, if you're a mage, like, there's not too much to be said, but if you're a mage, you typically want to have death cap and magic penetration at some point in your build, right? So with death cap and avoid stuff. So that's what I think about when I'm building items. I know that whether I'm Syndra, whether I'm Akali, whether I'm Vladimir, whether I'm Fizz, right? On AP champions, you need a death cap and in the majority of the games also a void staff. So then, and most of the time you need your death cap as a third item and your void staff as a fourth item. If you know that, that means that you can have 2 item slots for core items. 1 item slot for core items, so your rocket belt or whatever. Then you can go into a death cap. Then you can go into a void. You can also stall your void stuff till your 4th item, and you could go something like rocket belt into, I don't know, like a Banshees or whatever, right? Whatever item works for you, a Riftmaker, a Zhonya's, a Cosmic Drive, a Liandry's, whatever. But just make sure that you have your death cap as a 3rd item and your void stuff as a 4th item in the majority of your games. If you play something like Ryze or Cassio, it is a bit different, right? Cassio has so many items that really work on her to the point where she doesn't have to get that death cap early on or that void. Because she likes to build Seraph, she likes to build Rod of Ages, Rylai's, that's like 3 core items, right? And then you still have to build death cap 4th and void stuff 5th. So some champions, they do want their death cap and void stuff a little bit later because they have so many good items on them. It's the same with Ryze, also wants to have like Rod of Ages and Seraph's Embrace, so that's 2 core items. That means again, death cap 3rd, void stuff 4th. Well, that kind of works, right? That still kind of works. So honestly, for Ryze, it's not really a problem. But again, Ryze also wants a Zhonya's or even a Frozen Heart sometimes, like a defensive item. So then it's also okay to stall your death cap and your void stuff. But on most mage champions, you don't want to do that, right? For AD champions, there's not really any guidelines in terms of builds. Like, one, I don't play too many AD champions, so I don't have that good of a take on it. If there are any people here that watching this video still, and you have some opinions on AD items that people should know, some fundamentals, let them know in the comments below. But for me personally, I don't really have any crazy views on it. I don't have like with AP items, there is a specific, like, you need death cap as a 3rd, you need void stuff as a 4th on like most champions. But that isn't really the case for AD items. There isn't really an AD item that people need specifically in their build, I feel like. So that's a bit different for AD items. Like, there I don't really have clear opinions. But that's maybe because I just don't play too many AD champs. Alright, and now what? What do I do? Why do I walk straight out of base right now? Like, why do I not go top? Why do I not go bot? Well, 1, my Urgot is laning bot lane, so we're not going to go there. 2, top lane is completely shoved out. If top lane was here, I would move top lane and shove this out with my team. That is the correct play. But the bot lane is not here, it is here. And it's currently pushing into me, which is kind of good, right? It's currently pushing. Now, 1, the wave is here, so that's in itself is a good thing. Why is it a good thing? Well, it's a bad thing and it's a good thing. It's a bad thing because 1, it sucks to walk here. It sucks to move here, right? And take this wave because I'm going to be in such an overextended position, I can just get collapsed. But the good thing is, I don't have a reason now to go top lane. So I can just go mid lane and force something with my team. This is a timer where I get to do something with my team because I don't need to go bot and I don't need to go top. So these are moments that you really have to realize as a mid laner. And I would say that this is super important for assassin players like Akali, Fizz, Zed, Katarina, those kind of champions, right? But also for mages, but mainly for assassin players. They need to realize these timings. You don't have to be here right now. The wave is kind of shoved out. It is in an overextended position. You can just go mid lane. What is my thought here? When I would be an assassin like Akali, I would want to go mid, but I wouldn't show myself. Hover your team. Walk mid lane with an Oracle Lens, with Control Ward, and just stand close to your team. Don't show yourself, because the enemies might right now think Tristana and Nautilus are alone. And then they collapse them, but if you're sitting here as an Akali, now you jump out of the bush and you kill them. You surprise them. And they think, why was she not top lane? Because you shouldn't have gone there, right? It was the correct play to be mid. So that is what I'm viewing right now. I don't really have a reason to go to the side lane, so I kind of want to be mid lane. And I kind of want to force something. Right? Now I do show myself. This is very bad by me. I should not show. Whether, even if it's because I'm Vladimir, I should not show that I'm here. But it is a bit different. This is team play. It is a bit harder to get those surprise kills. And also, Diana is dead. So I'm not really thinking right now of trying to make a surprise play here on this bot lane. I'm just knowing we have a number advantage with Diana being dead. Right? So we can literally just push this tower with 3 people. I can literally help my team shift this and then take the tower. So the idea behind here is not making a pick and then we can take the tower. The idea is we already have that pick. Diana is already dead. So I don't need to hide anymore, and I can just go mid lane and take the tower. Right. So that's why it's honestly not bad, right? But like from a perspective of like what I first explained, you don't want to show, right? It looks bad what I'm doing, but it's because we get to take this tower because we already have the advantage. I don't need to hide in the shadows, make a play, and then we have the advantage. We already have it because Diana is already dead. So I should just help my team here, take them, help them with taking the tower. And then the enemies just overextend. They ignore my damage. They underestimate me. So yeah, we just take the tower and we kill them. Right. And again, now we have another advantage. Diana was dead. She is alive now, but now Jinx is dead. So we have another advantage. So theoretically, we could keep on pushing here. Now, Mundo is exerting pressure. This is 700 gold. We don't want to give it to him. So Urgot is moving here. But we keep on pushing here. Right. Okay, we keep on pushing. And I believe that's going to be close to the end of the game. I recall. Why do I recall here? I don't believe that we can end the game here. But if I thought we could end the game, we could go for this. Now you can argue Diana was top lane. Mundo is stuck here. And these guys are dead. So we are basically alone. So we could look to end. Right. Now I would assume, of course, that this Diana was already recalling. For some reason, she didn't this game. But from my perspective, she should. Right? She should just recall here. And Jinx is spawning. So that's 2 people to defend this. And I'm not sure if they can. The thing is here, right? If you're not sure that they can, the better play, one, you could limit test. You could try it. And then you know for next time. But the guaranteed play, because you're never going to be sure, right? The guaranteed play is the fact that Baron is spawning. We probably shouldn't do this. If Baron was not spawning, 100% I would try it. But there's a difference between limit testing and inting. Right? If Baron is not up and we try this and we all die, well, it sucks and they get a lot of gold, but they don't get the Baron. If we now do this and it doesn't work and we die, they might get the Baron and then the game is over. So from that perspective, it looks way too coin flippy and it looks borderline int to try this. Right? That is what's going on in my mind right now to close out this game. It looks a bit too risky with the Baron spawning. So I look to recall. I see Baron is spawning. We're not going to end this. My team doesn't need me, so we're going to back out. And I'm going to go top lane. Again, I could have made the call to end and tell my team we can end, we can end. It would have been too close in my opinion with Baron spawning, so I didn't risk it. Okay, and then here Baron is up. Normally I would look to shove out the wave. Like, you want to shove out the wave and then look to come from a flank angle, right? Whether you're Akali or Vladimir, that's kind of what you want to do. Like an assassin. Vladimir has similar assassin type style. As a Syndra, you would look to clear the wave and move very safely here through the mid lane, through the open spaces with your team. That's what you would want to do as a mage. Right. Now again, we push this wave. My team is already fighting, so I have to stop pushing the wave. They are already beginning to like fight. Now I ping back. I'm saying, team, I really want to shove out this wave. I want to pressure the enemy team. Let's not like fight this. And again, I'm pushing, pushing, pushing. And now Veigar reacts here. Veigar is here, and that gives me a reason to now fight. Now I can go in here because Veigar showed here. And that means that now we get to make a pick here. Or we get the advantage. We are here first on the Baron, and that's an advantage. That's why I like to push. Okay, we take the Nash. The enemies contest us, and we just kill them. And that's just the game. They shouldn't have contested us. We're just too strong at this point in the game. Right. But we end the game from that. Now, that was my... I think... So I chose this game because I think there were many fundamentals here to talk about. Right. That's why I chose this game. There were many situations that happen in most games. Even though this was kind of a stomp from my team here. Like, we were kind of strong this game and the entire team was doing pretty well. The idea was to take this game because there are just too many, like a lot of situations here that happen in, I think, most people's game, like with the lane assignments and stuff. And that just allowed me to talk about a lot because the idea was to talk about everything that came up into my mind. And if there happens a lot in this game, then I can talk a lot about things, right? Because then there pops up a lot of in my mind. So that is exactly what I did. Now, I don't know how long this video is. I don't know how long I've been yapping for. Probably a long time. But I've never done something like this. And I think it would be something nice. I think you guys will enjoy it. Now, if you did enjoy it, let me know. Don't just subscribe. Don't just leave a like, comment, right? Let me know if you enjoyed this, if I should do this again. Because this type of content, I can do it again and again and again. I think there could be value in recreating these type of videos because one game is not the other, right? There are a lot of different games, and in every game, there will be different things that come up into my mind and maybe give you insights that you didn't know before. Right. And also, you guys can also give me insights that I didn't know before by placing them in the comments down below. But that's it for this video. If you enjoyed it, again, leave a comment. That's the most important part. Let me know what you thought of it. And thank you so much for sticking all the way until the end. I'll see you guys in my next video.